Does your team have a leadership void?
When we're in the offensive line, where
just overall, when these.
But seriously, where would you have a leadership void? Is it an experience void? Is it a talent void? Is it a leadership void? I'm not trying to be cute here. The answer is no. The answer is no.
I'm asking.
There's not a. Well, just shut up and let me answer. No.
Jerry, when you go into the locker room, what I'm asking is, do you see the intangibles? You're not asking
me that. I gave you the answer. When I go into the locker room, there's no leadership void in my eyes.
Okay.
Now that's your answer. Let's move on.
All right. Hi, Tom Pelissero. For the record, Jerry later apologized for telling the host in his weekly appearance to shut up and said basically, don't tick off an old man who has money. Something like that. He also said pretty adamantly that I have my man in Mike McCarthy. So anyone expecting any kind of radical change, it's not going to happen.
Well, first of all, Andrew, shut up and let me answer this question. Secondly, you're talking about 7 games. Okay, we're 7 games into the season. Anybody thinking that Jerry Jones, based on everything that we heard from him back in January, the process that led to Mike McCarthy becoming the head coach of the Cowboys, was suddenly going to change his mind based on 7 games is simply being unrealistic here. Now, you've had some fundamental lapses through these opening games. There is no question about it. Nobody in Dallas, including Mike McCarthy himself, is going to say the results so far are what they want. But let's look at some of the circumstances. Not excuses, but circumstances. You are now down to your 3rd-string quarterback. You lost your starting tight end in camp. You're down your top 4 offensive linemen. You did not, for a good chunk of the early part of the season, have your top 2 middle linebackers, the guys to run your defense when you are, by all admissions, going to a far more complex scheme than you had in the past. Those are factors here, as is the fact that you have COVID-19 that wiped out the offseason at a time that you're trying to install your culture, you're trying to install your philosophies, as well as your schemes. Take something like ball security. In Mike McCarthy's time in Green Bay, his teams were plus 97 in the turnover margin. That was the 2nd best number, if anybody in the league, outside of the Patriots. Under Jason Garrett, the Cowboys were a negative turnover margin team for 10 years. It takes time to break those habits. The first time that they brought out the jugs machines at training camp, I was told they had 3 machines. It went so badly they had to buy 5 more. They're doing ball security drills constantly there. These are basic things that they are trying to overhaul. You've seen guys like Ezekiel Elliott in the ball security area have problems here in the early going. These are all things you wanted to work on in the offseason. Again, not an excuse, but outside of Kevin Stefanski, every other first-year coach so far has a losing record. It takes some time. Jerry's not going to make up his mind watching Ben DiNucci this week go out and play quarterback on what's going to happen for the future of Mike McCarthy.
I get it. Just for the record, you didn't think I was suggesting Mike McCarthy was going to get fired,
Just
right?
shut up. Shut up and I'll answer your questions.
Don't tick off a middle-aged man that doesn't have a lot of money.
We're not young.
No, we're not. I didn't think he was going to get fired. I don't think he should be fired. It is reasonable to ask right now, how did the Cowboys win a game here with their current set of circumstances? As I like to say, it's not an excuse, it's an explanation. I think the explanation is a long one there, as you just laid out for the Cowboys. And it doesn't help that your much maligned defensive coordinator, Mike Nolan, has to postpone a press conference, mid-press conference yesterday, because he gets Tabasco sauce in his eyes, because he rubs his eyes with his hands with the Tabasco sauce, which you shouldn't do, especially during a pandemic when you shouldn't be touching your eyes. Other than that, they get the Eagles on Sunday.
Sometimes your eyes itch. I get it. I've been there.
I get it. Also, the jalapeno seeds. Don't do that. I have a story for another time that's probably better for off the air. All right, let's move on to the Buccaneers. Yeah, the Buccaneers. Can we put up this tweet here from LaShawn McCoy? I was asked by the control room, can I read this in my own voice? And I'm not going to. But this is LaShawn McCoy, the Buccaneers running back, expressing happiness to Antonio Brown because Antonio Brown is now officially signing his one-year contract. He did so this morning with the Buccaneers, and he's joining them. And later we're going to talk to Scotty Miller about this. Tom, yesterday we had Bruce Arians say that he's going to have AB on the practice field tomorrow, Wednesday. That isn't necessarily right?
Well, here's the bottom line. You have an entry period here, but Antonio Brown remains suspended at this point. He cannot play in this week's game, which is significant for multiple reasons that we'll get to. But this is about ramping up Antonio Brown and, in Bruce Arians' words, to have an insurance policy as they move forward if they end up having injuries at the receiver position. Now, of course, that tweet by LaShawn McCoy was referencing Antonio Brown's lead single off his album, Whole Lot of Money, Andrew. I don't know if you've got that in the rotation. It's constantly popping on my iTunes. But in terms of his contract, this is not
Antonio Brown has an
whole lot of money. It was a perfect segue. Now you ruined it. Shut up and let me answer your questions. Yes, Antonio Brown had an album that he put out. He sang, he rapped. If you follow him on Instagram, that's all you had was constant messaging about Whole Lot of Money, his album. But it's not a whole lot of money for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Andrew. $750,000 in terms of the prorated base salary. He gets a total of up to $250,000 in per-game active bonuses. Every game that he's up on the active roster, he gets about $31,000. And the rest is incentives. It's $250,000 if he surpasses 45 catches, $250,000 and 650 yards, another $250,000 if he gets the 6 touchdowns, and all those are dependent on them making the playoffs. There's also a $750,000 bonus they'd be happy to pay that's contingent if they win the Super Bowl, but it's a $1 million base value, maximum of $2.5 million for Antonio Brown. We all know he was available for a variety of reasons, including an ongoing civil case in Florida based on accusations of rape and sexual assault. That is ongoing. It is tentatively set for December, though it may get pushed back beyond that. As a football player, they are banking on Antonio Brown being able to give them something if they need it in terms of a lift to a receiving core that did take another hit here.
For the record, I didn't know it because I unfollowed him on Instagram about 6 months ago. I couldn't take any of it anymore. They also need him kind of sort of now because they're going to lose Chris Godwin for a little bit with a finger injury.
It is a fractured left index finger that required surgery earlier today. Godwin not going to play on Monday night against the Giants, could potentially be back the following week against the Saints. Remember, Godwin also missed time earlier this season because of a couple of different injuries. Mike Evans